Let me tell you something that no one's brave enough to say out loud. You don't need to chase what's already meant for you. Stop chasing, start aligning. Chasing is what they teach us. From the moment we open our eyes, we're told to run. Run after approval, run after titles, run after love that barely looks back. We're taught that if we're not moving, we're losing. If we're not louder, faster, more visible, we'll be forgotten. Now we go, all through them, we need to speak for the voices that told, take us. So we sprint, breathless, broken, desperate to be seen. But here's the truth they never told you. Chasing doesn't guarantee fulfillment. It guarantees exhaustion. You can chase for decades and still end up empty. Because what you're chasing may never be yours to catch. The more you chase, the more you drift away from who you are. Alignment is a rebellion. It's choosing silence in a world that worships chaos. It's listening inward when everything outside demands attention. It's not passive, it's not lazy, it's powerful. Alignment is knowing who you are so deeply that you stop apologizing for how you move. It's when your soul and your steps finally agree. No more bending for validation, no more shrinking to fit the frame. When you align, your energy becomes clean. You stop leaking your power in every direction. You start moving like you know where you're going. Because this time, you actually do. Chasing is fear in motion. It's panic disguised as ambition. You're not pursuing purpose, you're running from rejection. You're not chasing dreams, you're chasing worth. But you can't earn your way into enoughness. You were born enough. You were whole before they told you to prove it. Chasing is trying to convince the world you're valuable. Alignment is knowing you always were. When you chase, you operate from scarcity. You believe there's only one shot, one door, one path. So you run yourself ragged trying to grab it before someone else does. But alignment operates from abundance. It knows what's meant for you. It can't be stolen. It trusts that your path isn't a race. It's a revelation. What you need is already finding its way to you, if only you'd stop blocking it with all your noise. Chasing says, I need to keep up. Alignment says, I'm already in rhythm. You don't find peace in the pursuit, you find peace in the pause. And in that pause, you meet yourself, the real you, the one underneath the roles, the masks, the hustle, the version of you that doesn't perform, doesn't beg, doesn't prove, just exists. And that's enough. That version is your compass. Follow that. Trust that. So let's for you. That's where alignment begins. When you chase, you become addicted to outcomes. You measure your worth in metrics, milestones, and moments of applause. But alignment is rooted in the process. It's not about what you get, it's about who you become. It's about integrity. It's about choosing what feels right even if it costs you everything the world said you should want. That's real power. That's real freedom. You were not born to beg life to notice you. You were born to walk in such truth that life can't look away. Chasing keeps you outside of yourself. Alignment brings you home. And once you're home, you stop asking for permission to exist. You stop auditioning. You start leading. Not from ego, but from essence. You start glowing without trying. You become undeniable without ever needing to be loud. You don't need to chase what's already drawn to you. You need to become still enough to receive it. Chasing is force. Alignment is flow. And once you taste the power of alignment, you'll never go back to the chaos of the chase. Because you realize everything real, everything lasting, everything sacred only comes when you stop chasing and start remembering who the hell you are. If it feels forced, it's not meant for you. You can dress it up, you can push through, you can pretend it's passion, but your body knows, your spirit knows. That tightness in your chest, that voice in your gut, that feeling you keep swallowing, that's truth trying to surface. When something requires you to become someone else just to keep it, that's not growth, that's self-abandonment. Real alignment doesn't twist your soul into unnatural shapes. If you're forcing it, you're faking it. And nothing worth having demands that you betray your own peace to keep it alive. But when you're too busy forcing, you miss the red flags. You call them challenges instead of warnings. You call it loyalty when it's actually fear. You call it destiny when it's just familiarity dressed in disguise. If you have to drag it, beg for it, beg a smile just to hold it, let it go. Your soul wasn't built to carry dead weight. The right things don't ask you to contort yourself into silence. They don't require you to pretend you're okay when you're clearly breaking. What's right for you won't suffocate you into submission. It will ask you to rise, not to disappear. There is a vast difference between discomfort that grows you and pressure that destroys you. One stretches you open to more of yourself. The other crushes you into something you're not. Don't confuse endurance with alignment. Just because you can survive something doesn't mean you should. If it's costing you your authenticity, it's too expensive. If it's pulling you away from your truth, it's not meant to be held. Life has a rhythm, and when you're aligned with it, you don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to prove your place. But when you force it, everything becomes a battle. Every conversation feels like negotiation. Every moment feels like compromise. Real connections don't drain, they restore. Real purpose doesn't pull you out of yourself. It pulls you deeper in. You don't have to cling to what doesn't feel right. You don't have to chase what's running from you. Some things fall apart, not because you failed, but because they were false from the start. Let what feels off fall away. Silence is not weakness, it's power. In a world that shouts to be seen, silence becomes a weapon, not the kind that wounds, but the kind that watches, waits, and strikes with precision. We've been taught that the louder you are, the more you matter. That if you're not constantly speaking, posting, performing, you're invisible. But what if invisibility is a choice? What if the most dangerous person in the room is the one who doesn't need to explain themselves? Silence isn't empty, it's loaded. It carries everything they didn't see coming. It speaks volumes without saying a word. It creates space for truth to rise while the noise burns itself out. People fear what they can't read, and nothing is harder to read than someone who chooses silence over chaos. When you no longer react to every trigger, you become untouchable. Silence doesn't mean you don't feel, it means you've mastered how to respond. The loudest person is often the most insecure. The one who can sit in silence and still feel powerful, that's a storm in human form. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop justifying your moves, when you stop proving your worth with every breath, you start reclaiming energy you didn't even know you were losing. The ones who carry true power rarely need to announce it. They walk into rooms and change the temperature with their presence, not their volume. Silence is not absence, it's presence intensified. It's control in a world addicted to reaction. When you choose silence, you choose to keep your energy sacred. You're no longer spilling your soul into every space that doesn't know how to hold it. You're not performing for approval. You're not shrinking for comfort, you're choosing stillness because it's where your real voice lives. Silence is how you listen to what the world tries to mute. It's how you hear your own truth beneath the opinions, beneath the distractions, beneath the masks. In silence, you learn to discern what's noise and what's message. You start to hear the difference between impulse and intuition. You stop being baited into battles that are already beneath your purpose. You stop needing to clap back because your life becomes your response. You stop fighting to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Powerful silence isn't avoidance, it's clarity. It's standing still while the world tries to pull you in every direction. It's not a lack of courage, it's a depth of confidence. You don't need the last word when you know the truth. You don't need to prove your intelligence with volume. Silence becomes your protection, your weapon, your answer. The world keeps asking for more noise, more drama, more reactions. But you give them stillness, you give them focus, You give them the strength of someone who no longer plays small just to be accepted. When you choose silence, you force others to sit with their own noise. You mirror back their chaos, their projections, their pain, and they call you distant because you won't dance with their dysfunction. Let them misunderstand you. Let them wonder. You don't owe anyone your emotional labor. You don't have to defend your boundaries with essays. You don't have to narrate your growth for it to be real. Your stillness will tell the story. Your calm will speak for itself. You weren't born to scream just to be heard. You weren't created to shout your worth into deaf ears. The ones who matter will hear you in the silence. The ones who don't were never listening anyway. When you no longer need to be loud to feel seen, when your peace becomes louder than your presence, that's when you've truly arrived. Let go of what doesn't feel like home. You are not here to carry what drains you. You are not meant to hold on to people, places, or paths that make your chest feel tight and your spirit feel small. We convince ourselves to stay loyal to things that no longer serve us, all because they once felt safe. But comfort is not the same as alignment. Familiarity is not the same as peace. Just because you've spent time somewhere doesn't mean you belong there. Just because you've invested love doesn't mean you owe your life to it. You are allowed to walk away from anything that makes you feel like a stranger to yourself. When something doesn't feel like home, your body speaks first. The tension creeps into your breath. Your energy dims. Your smile becomes a mask. And still, you stay, hoping it gets better, waiting for change, convincing yourself that maybe it's you. But it's not weakness to leave. It's wisdom. Because anything that forces you to abandon your truth to survive is already killing you slowly. You don't owe longevity to what makes you feel lost. Time is not the proof of worth. Peace is. You cannot build a life on top of what feels wrong, no matter how pretty it looks from the outside. If it costs you your wholeness, it's not success, it's sacrifice. You are not designed to fit into spaces that crush your soul. You are not created to live in constant defense of your own energy. If you have to explain your value every day, you are not valued. If you have to constantly shrink to be accepted, that's not love. It's control. You deserve more than silent suffering dressed up as stability. You are not weak for walking away. You are not heartless for choosing your well-being. You are not selfish for no longer participating in your own pain. The world will try to shame you into staying where you no longer belong, but their discomfort with your boundaries is not your burden. You don't have to explain why something doesn't feel right. Your spirit doesn't need a jury. What's real doesn't need defense. You don't need permission to stop settling. Some doors need to be closed without ceremony. Some endings are the most sacred beginnings. Not everything that breaks your heart is meant to be fixed. Some things are meant to teach you how to never settle again. Letting go isn't losing, it's rising. It's remembering your worth when the world tried to make you forget it. It's choosing freedom over familiarity, truth over tradition, soul over surface. You can't fly while dragging anchors. Every time you choose to stay in what no longer feels like home, you disconnect from your power. You delay your purpose. You dim your fire. You're not keeping the peace, you're holding back a revolution inside you. That ache you feel, that's not guilt, it's your calling. That restlessness, that's your soul knocking, begging you to listen. You don't have to burn in the house just because you helped build it. You can leave. You can let go. You can choose yourself. And that is the most radical thing you'll ever do. Beg your own table. Don't beg for a seat. You were not created to wait in line for a space that doesn't recognize your value. You were not born to sit quietly at tables that only tolerate your presence while dismissing your voice. The world will convince you that you have to earn your place, that you must prove your worth through perfection, obedience, or silence, but the truth is, any place that needs convincing to see your brilliance was never built for you. Stop waiting for an invitation to a room. You were meant to redesign. Your power doesn't come from being accepted. It comes from knowing you never needed approval to begin with. They'll try to make you feel like you're lucky just to be included, like you should shrink your light so it doesn't blind them. They'll give you crumbs and expect gratitude. But you were never meant to survive off scraps. You are the whole feast. You are the voice they fear because it's not controlled. You are the energy that shifts the room. Not because you asked, but because your presence demands it. You don't need their permission to lead. You don't need their platform to rise. You build your own table and you bring your own fire. There is something sacred about creating space for yourself. It means you've stopped performing. It means you've remembered who you were before they told you who to be. When you build your own table, you no longer edit yourself to fit their expectations. You bring your full truth, unfiltered, unpolished, unapologetic. You stop asking, will they like me, and start declaring, this is who I am. You stop shrinking your soul just to fit into boxes that were never designed for your kind of brilliance. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't need them to feel powerful. That's why they'll try to undermine you. That's why they'll say you're too much, too loud, too different. Because the moment you realize you don't need their table, their illusion of control shatters. And that scares them. But it should never scare you. Because building your own table is not about ego. It's about liberation. It's about creating a life that doesn't require you to beg for belonging. You are not here to convince people to see your worth. You are here to walk in it so fully that even your silence echoes. Every time you sit at a table that asks you to dim your light, you betray your own brilliance. Every time you play small just to stay close to the crowd, you lose a part of your fire. And there will come a day when you get tired of shrinking, when your hunger for truth outweighs your fear of being alone. That's the day your real life begins. That's the day you stop asking to be chosen and start choosing yourself. Not everyone will clap when you stop begging. Not everyone will cheer when you build something that doesn't include them. But your liberation was never meant to be a group decision. Some will call it rebellion, others will call it ego, but you will know it's healing. You will feel the shift, the peace, the clarity, the alignment. You will feel what it's like to stop negotiating with spaces that never respected you. And you'll wonder why you ever settled in the first place. There is something untouchable about a person who no longer chases approval, something magnetic about someone who knows they are enough without the validation. That kind of energy doesn't beg. It creates, it builds, it leads, and it becomes the example for others who were taught to wait their turn. When you build your own table, you become the blueprint. You show others what's possible when you stop trying to fit in and start standing out. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. Stop asking to be seated at tables where your soul isn't fed. Stop sacrificing your voice just to be tolerated. You were never meant to survive in places that don't celebrate your existence. Build something so true to you that no one can deny it. Create a life that fits you like a second skin. And when they ask how you did it, tell them the truth. You stopped waiting and you started building. Comparison is a thief that wears the friendly face. It tells you that you should be further, that someone else is doing it better, that you're wasting your potential because your path doesn't look like theirs. But their pace is not your purpose. Their journey is not your map. You can't measure divine timing with human deadlines. The moment you stop rushing is the moment you start receiving. Life doesn't punish you for moving slow. It blesses you when you move real. The most dangerous pressure isn't external, and it's the voice inside your head that whispers, you should be more by now. That voice isn't truth. That voice is fear disguised as urgency. You weren't late, you were learning, you weren't lost, you were being redirected. Everything you thought was a delay was actually a deepening. Everything that didn't happen when you wanted was protection in disguise. The moments where nothing made sense were the moments that built your capacity to hold everything that's coming. It takes strength to move at your own pace when everyone else is sprinting. It takes courage to be still when the world rewards chaos. But forced success is fragile. Rushed growth is shallow. You weren't meant to bloom under pressure. You were meant to rise from purpose. When it's right, it doesn't have to be forced. When it's yours, you don't have to chase it. You don't have to trade your peace for progress. You don't have to sacrifice your soul to meet a milestone. Glorify urgency and shame patience. But rushing is a trauma response. Slowness is a power move. Waiting is not wasting. Delay is not denial. The universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to alignment. You don't need to hustle to earn what's already yours. You need to align to receive it. The breakthroughs you're waiting for aren't behind a wall of effort. They're behind a door of surrender. And the key is presence. Not panic, not pressure, presence. Your life is not behind schedule. It's unfolding with precision. Every closed door taught you something. Every wrong turn revealed a truth. Every heartbreak reshaped your vision. Nothing was wasted, it all counted. Even the moments you thought were useless were building the version of you who's ready for what's next. The deeper your roots, the taller your rise. And slow growth is strong growth. Because when you don't rush, you don't fake it. You don't lose yourself trying to become someone else's idea of success. Your story was never meant to fit into a template. You're not supposed to be like them. That's the point. Your uniqueness is your power. Your timing is your testimony. The longer the wait, the bigger the reveal. And when it comes, it won't be small. It won't be quiet. It won't be easy to miss. It will make sense of every tear, every detour, every breakdown. You'll look back and realize nothing was off track. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was late. You were always being led exactly where you needed to be.